Welcome to Biz Dev Live. Today is an interesting episode because I'm doing a book review, and I like to do different episodes on different topics. Sometimes I do book reviews, sometimes it's just straight up advice for companies. And this book review, like most of my shows, will have some advice based on the book, Simon Sinek's Start With Why. So, very powerful book. The reason I chose to read this book is because I had seen the YouTube videos and I'd actually started doing rooms on Clubhouse talking about what is your why, what is your need. And so in that area, we were trying to get people to express what kind of impact that they were having on the world. And actually, I'll go back to that what is the impact question, because we actually had somebody from Simon Sinek's team jump into the Clubhouse room and sort of give us a little bit more insight on how they go about asking that question. And that led to the what is the impact thing. But I loved the idea and the topic, start with why. What is your why? And then once you tell us what is your why, then we have a reason to support you. And so tell me your need, and now we can actually provide support because I know where you're coming from. And so that's what I was doing in the Clubhouse room. And I had seen the YouTube video, but I said, you know what, I want to dig, hosting this room. I want to dig more into this. I want to get a little bit more information and get more of a base and more of an understanding of this whole idea of start with why. And so in reading the book, there's a lot of case studies. And so the book is heavy with examples from Apple and Southwest Airlines and companies that if you have an MBA in business, you've probably studied Southwest, you've probably studied Apple, you've probably studied IBM, you've probably studied some of these companies because they are true success stories. And I think, like with anything else, in talking about a lot of the success stories, and he does talk about some of the failures, how people split, and talks about that, where people started with a good idea of where they were trying to go, and founders in particular having a great idea of where they wanted to go as a company, but that being a divergence, right? So if you pick up this book, you're going to read some great examples of companies that have a clear understanding of their why. They communicate their why very well. In the case of Apple, he talks about their identity as a brand of right? iPad, it's about the individual. So even in their advertising, it's about creating revolution, and it's the personal revolution, right? Making life easier for that individual. We're going to go out. The why is making it easy to do tasks for the individual to take on the rest of society. So you can see that through their early advertising. You can see it now when they have a product. The one that stood out for me that they didn't use as an example, but I could sort of compare it, how Simon Sinek was talking about it, was an ad that sticks out in my mind for the iPod, or the pods for your earbuds, right? It's one person dancing, and like dancing on the walls and everything, but it's just one person. It's not a group setting, it's not a group dancing, it's just one person, because that is their brand. And that really stuck out to me. I said, that's something. And they make compelling imagery, compelling branding. It really does tell a story. So what is your why? And you want to read a book like this, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. Are you leading from a what or a how? And he talks about the golden circle. So if you've seen the Simon Sinek video, you've seen the golden circle. And so why, what, how? There are certain people that understand how to get things done. He talks about the why in movement, literal revolutionary movements, like with Martin Luther King. You have Reverend King, who was the why statement. He's helped people show up, and the idea that people showed up not because Martin Luther King there, but he was talking about something that they believe, that he has a dream, right? So there's the vision in the moment. That's the why you show up, because we all have this commonality. We're here for this. And then Reverend Abernathy would get up after King finished, and he would deal with the weather. We need to show up here at this place. This is how we need to do it from a strategic point of view. So you need those different people in your organization, especially for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs that are starting out small. And he talks talks about big companies. Sam Walton, who started up Sam's Club and Walmart, talks about how that company has taken a split, right? So the idea that when Walmart started, it was making it easy and convenient for people and taking care of people, and how that has since moved to, and he used the lowest price to help people, but it was also helping employees, making sure that they were taken care of. That's moved to, all right, we're lowest price, and we don't really care about the people that are working for us necessarily. And so the company hasn't held up the same kind of values and doesn't have the same kind of message behind it. And other companies that have maintained more of a trust value in terms of connecting their why to what they do, people are more likely to trust them faster. Walmart's still a beast. It's huge. Sam's Club, all that stuff, they have so much momentum behind them. And that's another business element that's not going to be really discussed in Start With Why. What Start With Why is going to talk about is how what you believe, if you push that forward and you communicate that well within your company, that will help guide things. When you do things because you have a passion to inspire rather than a passion to make money, that the money will come. People will be more content. You'll have to struggle less to get people to things. I thought some of the more interesting pieces of the book was talking about some of the historical pieces like King, but also talking about the Wright brothers. Apparently there was this rich guy that had a lot of funding behind him. Of course, I'm going to forget his name now, but there was another group that was going after making the first plane that could fly, powered flight, and they failed because they were in it for the recognition. They were in it for whatever. And that's true because once the Wright brothers achieved flight, they dropped the mission, right? They said, well, somebody else did it first, so I'm out. And so it's really interesting when you look at a company like Apple, and they've never really been the first to innovate. Maybe there's some design stuff, and if you're in the cult of Steve, which they talk about, right, some of these things. But the MP3 player was around long before the iPod came in. Cell phone, obviously in existence for a long time, but their why dictated something. Instead of creating a phone that the telecom companies were going to dictate, they said, we're going to make this product that allows people to do what they want to do, and we're going to make it the way that we're going to make it. No company is going to dictate, and we're going to partner with a company, AT&T, which was the first one. If you remember back to that, they partnered with iPhone, and that changed the game forever. Now you had companies that were creating their own tech, and the telecom companies were bowing, not the other way around. So really very cool. Lots of takeaways to take away. I think the things for me as an entrepreneur, and not somebody that has 1,000 full-time employees spread out over different locations, because there's a lot of talking about big businesses like Apple, like Southwest, like Sam's or Walmart. The things that I took away from it was, how do I focus myself on my why? How do I drive the passion of why I do things, what kind of impact that I want to have on the world into what I do? Where do I start with? What do I start with? Where do I start with? And so there's a lot of pieces in here, even in talking about hiring staff, just talking about stories. And I've talked about it on BizDev Live before, because as I was reading it, I thought it was a really great story. But the idea that there was this guy, Shackleton was an explorer. And so rather than put up an ad for people that have experience in sailing and all that, his ad went something along the lines of: men wanted for hazardous journeys, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful. And then the last piece here, which is the why: honor and recognition in case of success for crossing the Antarctic. So where do you actually want to focus on. What's your why? Where do you want people to really get inspired and join your team? What's the reason you want them on your team? What are you trying to build? What are you trying to grow? What kind of impact? That is the place to start from. And if you do that, if you can get people on board with your why, you're going to have a lot more success. So I highly recommend this book by Simon Sinek. There's so many great pieces to it. I could literally sit here and just read sections of the book and feel pretty content that you'd find value in that. Obviously, you can pick up the book. But if you do understand there's a lot of business case scenarios in there, the insights that you're going to pull away from it are going to be things that really enhance how you make decisions in what you do and what you say in your company. And then as you build your team, if you're the why guy, making sure that you have somebody that's going to handle the what and the how. If you're not the why guy, if you're not a vision person, partnering with that vision person may be a great idea for you. And if you can respect that this person has the ideas and you're going to actually do the work of, not to say that having the ideas isn't work, because it is, right? But understand that division of labor is a really big deal. And so you see that time and time again. You got the two Steves, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, right? One person really selling it, the other person really building it. If you can find those kind of partnerships in your life, those may be good partnerships for you, because having somebody that can communicate that why will help you build your team and lead a more effective company. I hope this was helpful. I hope you pick up the book. I think it was really great. I'm a big, strong believer in books, so I like doing these book review episodes. If you like these book review episodes, please let me know in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.